Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Want to know if you can retire before age 65? Well, thanks to a fellow by the name of Otto von Bismarck, you might just be able to pull it off.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and four-time author, Tony Walker.
His name, Otto von Bismarck. His claim to fame, the introduction of a new concept in the late 1800s, giving free money to older workers so they could retire and make way for the younger ones. In those days, the world in many places was turning from an agriculture-based society to one dubbed as more industrialized, whereby workers were leaving the farm and heading off to the world of manufacturing. And with the world's population growing and more people moving from the family farms to the big cities, fewer and fewer jobs became available as workers stayed in those factories for as long as they could. Back then, there was no money set aside for retirement, no such thing as pensions, Social Security, or yes, even 401k plans. Nope. Back in the late 1800s, if you wanted to put food on the table, you just kept working as long as you could, which was a problem in Germany as more and more younger folks couldn't find work because the older ones kept hanging on to the good job. So, what does the country of Germany do? They enlist the services of Bismarck, who comes up with the idea of the government paying workers to retire and stay home, sound familiar today, so that their jobs could then go to the younger men and women who needed them. The concept of stopping work for a paycheck and sitting at home receiving a guaranteed paycheck for the rest of one's life was something called a pension. And while today, very few Americans enjoy the thought of a company-sponsored or government-sponsored lifetime retirement income or pension, not so long ago, countries like Germany, and yes, even the good old US of A, provided pensions to millions of workers. And even though pensions have gone the way of the Everly Brothers, today, more than 60 million Americans enjoy something akin to pensions, a retirement vehicle that provides income for the rest of one's life called Social Security. And while it is true that very few people can comfortably retire on just Social Security, if properly understood, there's a little-known secret that Social Security might just be your ticket to retiring sooner than you think, which is the topic of today's program. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, Social Security expert and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And today we're going to share with you 3 things you need to know about Social Security. First, what exactly is it? Second, when should you consider drawing it? And third, and most importantly, how can Social Security be your ticket to retiring early? But before we get into that, let's first introduce 2 young lads who know very little about Social Security, but boy, do they know a lot about producing a TV show. America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, along with Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, social engineering expert, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, there you sit, either currently collecting this thing they call Social Security, or wondering when in the world you should begin taking it, and all the while having very little understanding of how this powerful tool can be used or turn sour in a hurry. You see, with trillions of dollars stockpiled into what the government calls our Social Security Trust Fund, there's a problem. The trust fund, as it stands now, will run out of money one day, and so could you. So with all of the uncertainty about Social Security being there in the future, how should savers view their Social Security and whether it can make a difference in planning for a worry-free retirement? Maybe even allowing you to retire sooner than you ever thought possible. Well, even if you are already retired and drawing Social Security, you may even not be aware of what will happen to those benefits when you die, or if you decide to take more money from that tax-infested 401k plan you've been socking money away into. Well, stay tuned, as I'm going to solve the mystery of how and when to begin using your Social Security for your benefit to a worry-free retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. It's called Social Security. And assuming you're still sitting upright and can still fog a mirror, you are more than likely collecting Social Security payments, or one of the millions of Americans who one day hope they still can. Yet there's a problem, and that is just how long the Social Security Trust Fund will last and whether these benefits will last as long as you do. According to the government's own figures, the Social Security Trust Fund, that's the magical lockbox that supposedly has all our money tucked away in it, is scheduled to run out of money in the year 2033. Doesn't sound real secure if you ask me. And knowing that Social Security is a key part of people's retirement, with millions of people currently benefiting from it, how in the world did we get to a place in our society where this program, which was created with good intentions for the good of all society, get to a point that all of society may never see a penny of it? Well, it all began in 1935 when old FDR signed into law the Social Security system. Realizing that in 1935 the average red-blooded American didn't make it to age 65, the politicians decided to withhold these benefits until everyone turned 65. In other words, based on the life expectancy of the day, very few people were ever anticipated to collect this Social Security benefit, and very few did. Oh, speaking of not living much longer than age 65, one lady sure did beat the odds, and her name was Miss Ida Mae Fuller. Don't you just love that name? I can see it now, Ida Mae's father hollering at her to come in for dinner.
Ida Mae? Ida Mae, come on in, honey. I got your favorite jackalope and squirrel stew. Woo-wee! Oh, sweet baby.
Anyway, check out her Social Security check of a few dollars a month and how long she lived to enjoy it. I say, way to go, Ida Mae. Anyway, as we fast forward to 2021, people are living much longer than ever before, something the politicians in 1935 sure never counted on. And thus, one of the main reasons the Social Security system is in deep doo-doo. So, before we provide you advice on when and how best to use your Social Security, let's cover a few facts about Social Security and the benefits thereof and who exactly is getting the most bang for their buck. You see, without Social Security benefits, about 4 in 10 Americans aged 65 and older would have incomes below the poverty line. The average Social Security retirement benefit in June of 2020 was about $1,514 a month. For about half of seniors, Social Security provides at least 50% of their income, and for about 1 in 4 seniors, it provides, listen to this, at least 90% of their income. And finally, this should come as no surprise, women represent more than half of Social Security benefits in their 60s and 7 in 10 beneficiaries in their 90s. In addition, women make up to 96% of Social Security survivor beneficiaries. Okay, so what can you and I do to understand the most of Social Security and get the most of what we've got in Social Security? Well, to help lay the ground rules are 2 folks in our Bowling Green offices, Miss Lisa Allerkamp and, of course, Miss Leanne Tinsley. Good morning to you both, and we're going to start off with Lisa. Lisa, since the topic of today's show is retiring early and considering drawing Social Security prior to full retirement, how does the government calculate that benefit, assuming someone, let's say, retires at 62 and begins their Social Security then?
Sure, Tony. Anytime you begin your Social Security benefit prior to your full retirement age, whether it be at age 62 or any time up until full retirement age, your benefit will be reduced. That is calculated based on the number of months early you were beginning your benefit. For example, if you were to begin your benefit, say 36 months early, your benefit is going to be reduced about 20%. If you begin your benefit about 48 months early, then you'll see about a 25% reduction in your benefit. And this reduction is permanent. It does not go back up once you reach full-time or full retirement age.
Oh, very helpful. Now, Leanne, let's say someone does go ahead and begins taking Social Security prior to their full retirement age. How might that affect their overall taxes?
So once your Social Security benefits will be added into your adjusted gross income at that time. And if you're filing a joint return, anything above $32,000 as your adjusted gross income, those Social Security benefits will now begin to become taxable.
Okay, so we're bouncing back and forth. So now, Lisa, say one spouse has always been the primary breadwinner and retires. How much can the other spouse anticipate drawing in terms of their Social Security?
Sure. If there's a spouse that does not qualify for a benefit based on their own work record, if they did not work outside the home or their benefit is minimal, they can be eligible for a spousal boost. Their own benefit will be calculated, and then they will be boosted up to 50% of the higher earner spouse's full retirement age benefit. Two things to keep in mind. One, if the lower earner spouse begins their benefit prior to full retirement age, that will be a reduced benefit, and that will carry over into the calculation of the spousal boost. So they wouldn't receive quite 50% of the other spouse's full retirement age. And secondly, to qualify for the spousal boost, the higher earner spouse does have to be receiving the benefit for the other spouse to apply for the spousal boost.
Okay, sounds rather complicated, but of course these are government-sponsored plans. All right, Leanne, are there circumstances where from a tax standpoint it makes sense to draw on one spouse's Social Security and maybe defer the other's Social Security?
Well, if you have an increased income coming in your earlier years, you may want to defer that second Social Security payment to keep your Social Security benefits from being taxed at that highest 85% rate.
Okay, and then one more question in the essence of time. Finally, this is back to you, Leanne, as well. Let's say someone is living off their Social Security, a small pension, maybe a part-time job, not paying a whole lot in taxes, and we see this sometimes, and then out of the blue they're thinking, you know what, I think I want to grab a bunch of that tax-infested 401k over there and take a bunch of money out and pay off the house. How might that large distribution affect their current Social Security?
Well, in that scenario, currently, their Social Security may not be being taxed at all. But once you pull that money out of that 401k, that is then taxable income, and that could increase their adjusted gross income to a point where their Social Security benefits are now being taxed at the highest rate of 85% of that benefit being taxed.
Well, ladies, we appreciate your work so much. All the more reason people need to reach out to us if they have questions about retiring early. So I'm going to let you get back to work. Thank you so much, and you make it a great day.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon. Our Live Well, Die Broke moment comes to us from Daryl in Louisville, who at the ripe young age of 79 decided to go for broke, not really, and fly down to Florida recently to pick up his dream car, this really cool Mustang. Pretty cool if you ask me. I'm not big into Mustangs, but that one's pretty cool. And not only did Daryl drive back to Louisville in this brand new Mustang, but he also gets a $100 gift card from us to boot. So thanks again, Daryl, for submitting that picture. Okay, Tony in the trenches here. This one's a good one. Tony, I'm 60 years of age, and I would like to retire early. I've been talking to a lot of advisors and searching on the internet for an answer to this one simple question. When should I start drawing Social Security? At 62 or wait till 67? James from Bardstown, by the way, goes on to say, I'm getting conflicting advice and more confused. Well, James, I hate to tell you this, but it's going to be my padded answer. It all depends. But let me see if I can help you by offering you some questions that you, and even you at home if you're going through this, might ask yourself before making this decision of when to take Social Security. Here's the first thing. What is the life expectancy of your immediate family members? In other words, how long did they live or are living? Now this is really important because obviously the longer they're going to live, if you waited to take Social Security, quite frankly, the more income you're going to get. So if you have a mother and father, let's say you're 60 and they're way up in their 80s and you've got some siblings that are in good health, chances are you could live a long, long life. So in that case, you might want to delay Social Security. On the other hand, if both of your parents died in their 60s or early 70s, maybe you've even had some health issues with other siblings, you might think, better take the money and run and take it early. Second question is dealing with life expectancy. How about your health? You may not be in the best of health. One of the things I'm realizing is many people are dealing with health issues, and as they deal with these health issues, it kind of falls into that live well, die broke philosophy, and that is you better spend this money while you still can. So again, if you're in poor health or your health is a little questionable, you might want to take it early. Here's another third question you can ask yourself. Are you married? And if so, how is the health of your spouse? In fact, just yesterday, I had about 20 appointments here in our Louisville office, and I met with a couple. The gentleman's only 60 years of age, and he has some serious health issues. So again, we have to play that into the mix depending on who is healthy, who's not. Was it the breadwinner or maybe the spouse that didn't work as much? All of this comes into play when determining when to take your benefits. Number 4, assuming you wish to retire prior to your full retirement age, here's a biggie. What will be the cost of health insurance prior to reaching age 65, which is when you can get a Medicare supplement? Now, folks, this is the elephant in the room. Years ago, when people retired early, this health insurance issue was not a big deal, but now you may have to pay, depending on your circumstances, $1,500 to $2,000 a month in health insurance premiums, and we can try to help you find that. And of course, sometimes that Social Security can be the ticket to help you afford health insurance between now and the time you turn 65. Number 5, are there other sources of income that may be reduced or disappear at your death, leaving less to your spouse as a result? So again, depending on when you take Social Security, it can help make up for lost income when a spouse passes. And here's a biggie. Finally, number 6, how confident are you in the government being able to continue providing Social Security benefits long into the future? Okay, so to kind of help us and to wrap this one segment up, I want to go to the whiteboard here. This is kind of interesting. And again, this is just the world according to Tony. And what I like to go through, again, I meet with so many different people. I see 20 to 30 people a week in person. So folks, that's another thing. I've been doing retirement planning a long, long time, and this field is getting very popular and crowded with a lot of people, quite frankly, that don't have the level of experience I have in working with so many savers. So here's our example real quickly. We've got a husband and wife, both 60, all right? He wants to retire now. He has about $650,000 in his 401k plan. He is having some health issues, which kind of that live well, die broke. He's been watching the show and he's thinking, man, I may want to get out of here early and enjoy the money while I can. He wants to do more travel and spend more time with the grandkids now while he still can. The house is nearly paid for. It has about $50,000 still in debt. His spouse is working at a part-time job, making, let's say, $12,000 to $15,000, but she wants to still work part-time. So he wants to retire, leave his job, kind of enjoy life. She's okay working part-time for a while, so that's a good thing. So really, as a planner, so my mind immediately shifts into health insurance, which he's not going to have any company-provided health insurance. Now, he could go on COBRA. In this case, it's going to be very expensive. By the way, if you're with a big company or a government institution that's going to supplement or pay for a lot of your health insurance, man, you got this thing whipped, because the health insurance premiums are what gets most people when they're thinking about retiring early. So again, you're going to see where I'm going with this. So he's going to have some health insurance premiums that are going to be pretty stiff between now and 65, between now and the time they can start a supplement, which again, we can do that in Tony Walker Financial. So what I'm looking at, I want to know, okay, between age 60, 61, and 65, where's the income going to come from? Well, what we're going to do, we're going to take the 401k, since he's going to be in a very low tax bracket if he retires. We're going to pull out about $70,000 now. Now, why are we going to do that? Well, we'll pay the taxes on it, and we want to pay off that home. Okay, in this case, this person is so close to paying off the home, they're going to stay there. We want that thing done away with. So we're going to take the tax hit. Remember, folks, we're at some of the lowest tax rates in history. They're already talking about spending another $2 trillion, $3 trillion, whatever they're going to spend. Folks, we have got to pay this debt back at some point. I think they're going to yank it out of these tax-infested 401k plans, so you better start planning now. Anyway, we'll pay off that debt. Then we'll pull income, again, out of the 401k. 62, we'll start Social Security, more than likely start it for both of them, assuming she's working and making less than $18,000. Again, we want to use this money and enjoy it. If we start Social Security for both of them at 62 in this example, we can back off on the 401k distributions, let those continue to grow, and then just do that same game plan, basically Social Security for each of them and the 401ks, and then of course hopefully their cash flow will improve when they get close to Medicare supplement ages. So folks, you just got to understand this. I've overseen nearly 5,000 game plans. I've seen about everything under the sun. And my experience allows me to come in very quickly and help people figure this out. But this is all specific to your situation. Don't ever go through something like this and say, oh, okay, I guess I can retire. No, folks, you got to be careful. There is no one size fits all. We want to make sure that this fits your situation. The only way you can do that is to talk to me in person, either by phone or if it warrants, I'll be happy to meet with you in person and go through a free written analysis of your entire situation. That's right, folks. We'll provide you a free written game plan. We don't obligate you or require you to buy anything from us. So take advantage of this free offer right now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or just simply call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, does the Bible have anything to say about Social Security? Not really, but it does have something to say about our dependence on God and sometimes our need to depend on our fellow man, and yes, even the things the government sets in place. This is going to be a doozy. I better grab another cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. We care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. The words Social Security conjure up different meanings for different people. But the one thing we must understand is that the concept of the government creating a system to provide security and protection for its citizens, of course in the case of Social Security, that would be retirees, widows, orphans, and the disabled, is nothing new. It does it not only through social programs, but also in such ways to protect us through the use of the military, police, emergency workers, and the like. Yet, even though the citizens of this country who benefit from the services of the government indirectly pay into the government coffers through taxes or Social Security payments, these same citizens, especially those who claim to be Christians, can sometimes feel ashamed or guilty upon receipt of assistance from the government. Just my humble opinion here, but could some of this shame or even feeling guilty about relying on the government to provide for us stem from the fact that the faith we so boldly proclaim to have in God is shakier than we think? Check out this dilemma of trusting in the ways of man versus the ways of God as found in Ezra 8:22, as it reads as follows. For I was ashamed to request from the king troops and horsemen to protect us from the enemy on the way, because we had told the king, the hand of our God is favorably disposed to all those who seek him, but his great anger is against all those who forsake him. Has this ever happened to you? One minute you're boldly telling the world of your faith in God, and then all heck breaks loose like a pandemic, and off we run to the nearest government assistance program for help, all the while forgetting the very God we just proclaimed here to help us is there to help us. I think what Ezra is saying is this: when times get tough, do we turn to God or turn to man? And if we proclaim to be dependent on God, are we too proud and too ashamed to ask for help from others who God has placed in our midst to help us? Yes, even the government. Well, here's my take on it. Be careful how boldly you proclaim your faith to others. Be sure the faith you have as your own. Because in times of trouble and struggle, your faith will be tested, and you don't want to be like Ezra and ashamed to ask for help when help is just around the corner. Can anyone say Social Security?
Mailbox money.
In other words, there is nothing to be ashamed of in asking for help from the government when in fact the very benefits you expect for them are benefits you have paid for. Yet still, this predicament of trusting in man and not trusting in God is a real thing. In fact, the writer Charles Spurgeon says the following of this predicament. Would we be running so hastily to friends and relations for assistance if we remember that the Lord is magnified by our implicit reliance upon His solitary arm? He goes on to add, few go to the extreme of neglecting the creature's arm. In our case, that would be Social Security, but very many sin greatly in making too much of it. In other words, thinking that man is the only source of our security, maybe that's you right now, you've become so dependent on the ways of man that you've forgotten the very source of true hope and security that we all have in God. Well, my advice, utilize the assistance of man whenever possible, but never forget that in the end, the abundant riches of God's grace and mercy is all that you truly need to feel secure. Amen? Well, how about you? You may be saying, Tony, that's some wonderful words of encouragement, partner, but can we get back to this idea of when to take Social Security and how it can be used to my benefit and for those I love? Well, the answer to that question is absolutely. In fact, at Tony Walker Financial, we are experts at helping people figure out how to make the most of their Social Security with many different ways to assess it based on one's circumstances. But there's only one way to see how we might help. Whether you're retired or wanting to retire early, you have to reach out to us for assistance. And the best way to do that, and of course there's no cost or obligation to do this, is right now just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You're going to click on that Let's Get Started button. Or you can simply call the toll-free number on your screen 24/7. If we're not available, we have a live answering service that can take your call, and we will promptly call you back on Monday morning. So TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on the Let's Get Started, or call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We look forward to seeing you next week on the Worry-Free Retirement. But you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.